All right, aloha, y'all. Welcome to the Only Outcome podcast. My name is Tyler Devereaux, and today I have hip hop lyrical genius, man, one of my absolute favorites, Harry Mack. What's up, brother?
Hey, doing well, doing well. Thank you for the kind words, Tyler. Excited to be here with you, man.
Bro, anybody who knows me, I reshare your stuff. I listen to your stuff. Like, I can't even remember. I found you on social somewhere, and I remember I was traveling.
Yep.
And I'm in my hotel room. I'm like just scrolling, before bed, the mindless
Yep.
scroll.
Yep.
And I happened to pop across one of your videos, and I was like, whoa, that was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
And then I
thank you.
kept scrolling. I can't even tell you how long I binged your content that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Baffled.
dude. Thank you so much, man. No, I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. And we post a lot of content, and we're trying to get people to fall down that rabbit hole, so to speak. So glad it's working.
You caught me, dude. And by the way, Peak Partnership. Harry's going to be at Peak Partnership performing there. It's March 21st through 23rd. I can't remember exactly what day. I think the 21st is when you're going to be there.
Yeah, I think so. We'll go with that. But I will definitely be there for the event, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Sweet, dude. Let's dive into it. We're excited to have you for sure. It's been fun to announce that on our end and have people be like, "What? No way!"
Oh, that's awesome, man. Glad there's some excitement building.
Yeah. So let's dive into this, bro. Tell me about your journey, because it sounds like you've been in music for your whole life, for the most part. Is that true?
Yeah. I started playing the violin when I was 7 years old. And even before that, my parents put me in just these sort of like general music classes, I think when I was like as young as 5, where it was just kind of like a bunch of little kids playing on the Orff instruments, which are like kind of like marimba type instruments, wood bar mallet instruments with no wrong notes. So, for little kids, it's great because you can just, they're every note is in key, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing music my whole life.
Okay, so but why did they put you in? Is music part of your family? Is your family into it, or?
Yeah, so nobody in my immediate family is a musician. I have an older sister, and then neither of my parents, so neither my sister nor either of my parents were musicians themselves. But there are musicians in my extended family. My mom's brother was a really amazing guitarist. My dad's sister is an organist and plays in the church and stuff like that. So yeah, there's music within the family for sure. But I think for me, it was like they saw an obsession with it and sort of like a drive for it, even when I was like tiny, like before I was making memories. Apparently I was always drumming like rhythms on the high chair tray. When I was a little baby up there in the high chair, I was always drumming. And, my Uncle Evan, who I mentioned was a great guitarist, when he would come over to the house, he would tell my parents his rhythm is perfect, So
No way.
I don't remember that. And I'm sure, who knows? But he noticed something in what I was doing on the high chair tray where he thought, oh, maybe this kid has a spark for music. And, I was always crawling to the speaker whenever they were playing music, and I would vibrate when certain songs were playing and stuff like that. So I'm told. Again, I don't remember any of this, but I think that's why my parents put me in the music classes, because it seemed like maybe I had a spark for it.
Bro, prodigy right here, man. Prodigy.
Yeah, well, something like that.
Okay, so let's talk about that though, because your journey, and I think that a lot of times people they hear about you now, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, millions of followers. This dude just blew up overnight, whatever. Yeah. It's not how it works though.
Right.
Maybe it is. I don't know. You correct me, but you've been doing this for a while. Did you start rap groups when you were young too?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think I tried to write my first rhyme when I was in 5th grade. And then by the time I hit 6th grade, I met some other friends who were into hip hop just like me. And so we formed a group called State of Mind. That was, when I was 11 years old. And yeah,
that's a sick name, by the way.
Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, it wasn't bad, man, for a bunch of 11-year-olds.
I'm saying.
But yeah, that's when I first started trying to figure out how to freestyle and improvise as well. Was back when I was 11 with my friends. Shout out to Brady, Alon, and Jack. Those were, the homies who I formed the group with. And we were just obsessed with it, man. We were obsessed with hip hop. We were obsessed with watching, 106 in Park. They had a thing called Freestyle Fridays, which was basically like a rap battle on Fridays. And people would go and compete, and they would freestyle off the top of the dome, so to speak. They would improvise and make it up in the moment. And it was just the most mind-blowing thing to us. We couldn't possibly fathom how anybody was able to do that. And we were so into it, and we were just young, and, we still had that youthful creative spirit before you start judging yourself, right? When it's just totally okay to play. And so for us, freestyling up in Brady's attic and putting beats on and trying to rap and trying to write our little rhymes was just play. And we were just having the time of our lives. So I've been doing it since back then, more than 20 years.
Dude, that's nuts, man. So do you feel like there's a mix of, and people told you that this is what you did? So like, do you think that shaped your identity? You're like, well, man, I'm a lyricist. Like I've been doing this since I was freaking in the high chair. Did that impact you?
Yeah, for sure. Like in terms of my identity, I've really identified as a musician for as long as I can remember, I always just felt such a strong connection to music. And to me, music was just always the coolest thing. Like it was very clear to me at a young age. And I recognize that I'm actually really lucky in a lot of ways that was the case. I'm really grateful for that, because that's not always the case. A lot of people, they don't have something that's such a clear, like, North Star, like, oh, this is it, and I was very fortunate and privileged to sort of have that and to recognize that in myself, where I always was kind of, taking actions that brought me closer to actually realizing the goal of being a musician, and having the technique and having the skills and having the ability to perform at a high level, just because I was compelled to naturally. It was just what seemed like the coolest thing to be doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So was there ever a part of your journey though, where, you love it, it's what you love it, you've been doing it your whole life, but it's like, was there ever a part where you're like, man, maybe this isn't going to be it. Maybe this isn't going to work. Maybe I should look somewhere else. I mean,
yeah. Oh, totally, man. Yeah. I mean, I've had lots of, ups and downs, throughout my journey as a musician. And I'm sure I'll continue to encounter even more, ups and downs as I go forward. I think that's part of it. For me, just looking back, I've been so passionate about hip hop, like I said, since I was a little kid, since I was in 3rd grade or something like that. When I first heard hip hop music, immediately passionate about it and loved doing it. But I was also a drummer. And so I ended up going to music school. When I graduated from high school, I went to USC, the University of Southern California. I was a member of the Thornton School of Music in the Jazz Studies program, training to be a jazz drummer. And so, the funny thing about me studying jazz drums at USC is, as much time as I was dedicating to the drums and my major, I was probably putting just as many hours in freestyling in the dorm room, with my friends.
Yeah.
And rocking parties and stuff around campus, getting on the mic and, having ciphers around campus with other MCs and people who were into it. So, still very much obsessed with rap and hip hop. And that's really, I think, where my heart was connected the strongest. I love jazz, but hip hop was always kind of, that felt like my music, because it was the music that was popular when I was a kid. So, what ended up happening is I graduated from USC with this piece of paper, right? This degree that says I'm a jazz drummer. And, at that time, I had a lot of sort of like limiting self-beliefs, many of which I've been able to shed, fortunately, in the years since. But at that time, like, the idea of me succeeding as a rapper, it just seemed absurd. I didn't believe that was a realistic possibility for myself. It was something that I loved doing. And every time I did it, whether it was at a house party or just hanging out with some friends around the house, they said, oh, let's put some beats on and Harry, bust some freestyles. Every time I did it, everyone was like, you should do something with that, right? Like, that's insane. Why are you not doing something with that? Like, that's so unique. That's so, like, the passion is so, like, palpable, when I'm doing it. And but again, in my head, man, because of these limiting self-beliefs that I was kind of struggling with at the time, it was like, yeah, but that's impossible, man. Like, how am I going to make it as a rapper? That just seems like such a pipe dream, like that's for other people. That couldn't be for me. I can't. right? And so I was struggling trying to make it as a jazz drummer, which the irony of this whole thing is, it's not like jazz drummers are like making the big bucks easily, or there's some firm that's waiting to hire jazz drummers by the thousands. Like, that's also a very challenging path, right? It's highly competitive.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to be so incredibly dedicated to make a living doing that as well. So that's kind of the funny part about all of this. Because my degree said I was a jazz drummer, I felt like that was a more realistic path, when in reality, it's probably just as difficult, if not more so. But yeah, I had to sort of get past those limiting beliefs and get to a point where I could say, you know what, maybe I could be a rapper. Actually, maybe I am a rapper, because I've been doing this since I was 11 years old, you know, and I've been loving it that whole time. Maybe I just already am a rapper, and it's actually not unrealistic to imagine that that's how I'll make it in the world and for my living as well.
So, bro, yes. And it is crazy how we paint ourselves in these corners. And
Yeah.
listen, man, one of my company's name is called the Multifamily Mindset. Like, I'm big on mindset. I study mindset. I really obsess about it. But man, I have limiting beliefs for sure.
Yeah.
Battling all the time. And hearing you say, like, who literally the minute that I heard you, I was just like, oh, your buddies in the dorm room, like, what in the hell, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to hear you say that you had those limiting beliefs. My question is, when did that change? Like, when did that change, and what was your process for there? Was it just a decision?
No, there was definitely a catalyst for, you know, the 180 you know, turn in my life, where basically, you know, what happened was, I'd been struggling for so long, kind of like barely, you know, just like scraping by as a jazz drummer, you know, and I was also, as many jazz musicians are, you know, I was also teaching lessons to connect the dots and doing other things that were sort of tangentially related to me being a professional drummer, but not really the thing that was driving me, which was performing, right? So, but I was just barely making it and scraping by and paying my rent, and, you know, just had enough for groceries and all that for many, many years. And I was kind of falling out of love with it, you know? And, you know, what happened just sort of by chance, I have a friend named Jacob Mann, who's a really fantastic jazz pianist and composer. We went to USC together. And so we knew each other from the jazz scene. But he also knew that I had this crazy freestyle ability, because, you know, I was always performing around USC at parties and stuff like that. And sometimes he would play keyboards for my, like, rap gigs. And so...
Wait, is he the guy in some of your videos that does that?
I don't know if we're in too many videos together, but he filmed my very first video, which actually isn't on my channel. It's on his channel. So what happened was, he had created he made like a jazz big band record, and he was trying to come up with a creative way to promote it. He's a really smart dude. And so he hit me up and he was like, hey, I made this jazz album. I sampled it and turned it into a rap beat, and I would love to have you freestyle over that beat, you know, and I'll film you. And he was like, I'll Venmo you $50 or something. I was like, I'll do it for free. You know, I don't need the $50. Let's just do it. So we got together, and the idea was I would drive down Sunset Boulevard, and I would just freestyle about the changing scenery, you know, and that's how people would know that I was really improvising, because, you know, we'd be driving through this space, and, you know, things are moving and shifting, and I'm referencing things as we're passing them. So I said, cool, you know, and I drove his car, because my car didn't have the aux port, you know, to play the beat. So I'm driving his car. He's got the phone with the beat, presses play, and then he's filming me on his other phone. Maybe I played the beat off my phone and he filmed on his. I can't remember. But anyway, we drive down Sunset Boulevard and I freestyle about all this changing scenery. It takes, you know, 20 minutes altogether. We get lunch afterwards. I go home and I forget about it. And then about a week later, I wake up from a nap and my roommate at the time goes, you're going viral right now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, yeah, that video of you freestyling down Sunset Boulevard, it's like #1 on Reddit videos right now.
No way.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I wasn't like an internet guy. I wasn't even really a social media guy. Like, I had posted to Instagram like twice ever, you know, and and stuff like that. And so I go and check it out, and I went to the video, and it was like, you know, 20,000 views or something. And I scroll down to refresh, and it was like 20,400. Again, 21,100. You know, and I was like, oh my! And so that was, I'd never experienced that before, of this video like being viewed by so many people in real time. And that was the moment, man, where I just sort of, I was looking at the phone and the video, and it was sort of like, I was slowly processing what was actually occurring. And it was just like, dude, what are you doing being afraid? You know, like, what are you doing holding yourself back? If this thing that you did as a favor to your friend that took 20 minutes of your time, right, that you forgot that you even did it, this is the result. Like, imagine what could happen if you dedicated yourself and gave everything you have in this direction. Like, imagine what you could do. And so it was just this wake up call, you know, and that was the moment, man. And since then, it's just been sheer momentum and me giving everything that I have to being Harry Mack and being the rapper that I've always been. So shout out to Jacob, man. Sometimes you need somebody to push you, you know. I believe that.
Oh, bro, that's awesome. I didn't know that part of the story. I've never heard that part of the story. And I love that.
Yeah.
And it's like something that you enjoy doing, that you would do, whether you got the $50 or not. It's like, shit, no, hey, let's go. Let's go have some fun, you know? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big tell, you know? Yeah.
Totally.
So do you have a system? Do you have a system like that I have a couple questions. Well, I have so many damn questions, but well, actually, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, sure.
I want to say one thing. Maybe it's just a statement, because you said we'd be driving down the road and I would point out different things that have changed the scenery so that they would know that I'm, you know, really freestyling.
Yeah.
Like, do you get people that are, it's a question now, I'm turning it into a question. Do you get people in this AI world that we're in being like, oh shit, that ain't real. He's reading it off a screen. He's whatever. Do you get people hitting you up like that?
Yeah, for sure, man. Even before AI, I mean, now it might be even crazier now with what you can do with AI in terms of people doubting that it's real. But even before that, there were comments on that first video that I just mentioned with Jacob. That was in December 2016 was when that was released. And even back then, there were comments being like, oh, he staged it. You know, he's driven the route, you know, 50 times, wrote the rap to match the route. You know, he timed it with the lights and everything. There was this one line in the video where there was this cyclist, you know, biking in the lane right in front of us. And so I had to slow way down, you know, while I'm freestyling. Obviously, I'm driving while freestyling. So beginning freestylers maybe don't do that, you know, because there's some multitasking going on. Got to be safe. But yeah, I slowed down behind this bike. I had to slow down to like 10 miles per hour or something. And then I realized there was a bike lane right there. And so I had this funny line. I was just kind of clowning, and I go like, yo, the cyclist doesn't use his left or his right brain. Why is he right here when he could be in the bike lane? And Jacob laughed, like while he was filming, he busted out. He couldn't help but laugh. And so that was like the line that everyone was kind of like, yeah, but what about the bike? You know, like, do we think that, and people were like, oh, the cyclist could be an actor. Like that might be a plant. They hired the cyclist, or that's his friend. So there was this like debate even back then of whether or not I planned it out or not. And even still, like, people who are unfamiliar with my stuff will sometimes see something and be like, oh, it's fake, or he obviously wrote that. Which to me, you know, honestly, it's a compliment, right? It's kind of like the highest compliment you could receive as an improviser is that it's so, hopefully it's so well constructed that people actually doubt that it could be improvised, and they figure you would have had to have pre-composed it. So, I'm not mad at that. I think it's a cool thing. And I also would say at this point, the sheer volume of content that has been created has sort of crushed any notion that I could be paying people or planning it out in advance. Because at this point, there's just so many videos of me freestyling about what's happening in the moment that I would have to have, like, you know, Paramount Studios budget to hire that many extras. Not to mention, just to memorize that many lyrics would actually be harder. That is seemingly more impossible than me actually being able to improvise at the level that I've learned how to do it. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's a great point. But you're right too. It's like, that's like the ultimate compliment. Like the ultimate compliment. That's like this huge nod. So do you have a system that you it's just the genius behind it. You just it's once again, I've seen you live. I've seen you on a bunch of videos, but I've seen you live. Yeah. And it is, and I'm going to come back to that, but it's amazing to watch your process from a distance. And I'm like literally up front. Like, I made my wife get there early, bro. I'm a straight fan, dude.
Oh,
listen,
thank you, dude. Nah,
HVAC, I just bro. Like, I get there early, front, center. and I'm just watching because I observe, okay? I
Yeah.
observe like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like waiting for you to come out, waiting for you to come out. And you came in from the back.
Yeah.
And I thought that alone was so awesome.
Oh, thank you, man.
I did. I loved
Yeah.
it because then you comb through the crowd and you're,
Mhm.
you know, but your systems you're coming. So a couple questions. Do you have
Yeah.
a system that you're, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, it's a lot of systems, you know, or I guess a system that has grown to allow for more complexity over time. Like speaking of AI, just as a quick side, I think, you know, if anyone ever wanted to design an AI freestyler, I would love to talk to them because I think basically what I'm doing is running a whole bunch of like algorithms and programs kind of in my brain at all times, you know? So, yeah, there's all these different systems, as you say, or techniques, you know, coming from the music world. There's a lot of different techniques that I use. Like I said, I'm a drummer, so it's the same thing with playing the drums. There's all these different techniques. There's accents, which are big, loud notes. There's taps, which are soft notes. There's the Moeller technique, which is this sort of whipping motion. You know, there's single stroke rolls, double stroke rolls, buzz rolls, you know, dynamics. There's all these different techniques that you acquire over time and you kind of start stacking them. You know, you start with the most basic ones and then you're able to, you know, once you fully ingest and absorb those more basic techniques as your foundation, you can build on top of that with increasing levels of complexity, right? And then at a certain point, all of those techniques kind of meld into your voice on the instrument. And so that's what I've done with freestyling. I treat it like any other instrument. Same way I practice the violin, same way I practice the drums. That's how I practice my freestyling. So it's just as a quick example, like one of the most foundational techniques to freestyling is this concept of setup punchline. And so with that, it's like if I am given a random word, like give me a random word.
My little girl wanted to give me a word. She said unicorn.
Okay, I love it. All right, so unicorn. So back in the day, like when I was first trying to freestyle and I didn't really have any technique, if somebody threw the word unicorn, I would just kind of grab it impulsively. Yeah, unicorn. And I have been sworn and was born, right? And so I didn't know what to do with it. So I would grab the word and then, you know, you hope that you can find something that maybe rhymes with it in the moment. And you sort of stammer your way into hopefully finding a rhyme. But a lot of times it doesn't work out, you know, and you just kind of peter off. But with setup punchline, you basically flip the process backwards. So rather than hearing unicorn and just saying it first, right, in this sort of reactive way, instead you hear unicorn and you save it for the end of the phrase. And then you work backwards to set it up with something that rhymes with unicorn, right? So rather than saying unicorn first and trying to jump to a rhyme, you're instead rhyming with unicorn first so that you can smoothly slide into home and say the word unicorn. So the example would be like, yo, I grab the mic and I do perform. I spit sharp from the dome like a unicorn, right? So first I say do perform to set me up to then say unicorn. So that's just like, that's one basic, just as an example of like a very foundational freestyle technique. And even being able to do that alone, like smoothly, right? And being able to daisy chain those together so that it would be, yo, I'm the real deal, never been a clone. My bars stay connected, something like your phone. I'ma break it down so that y'all can understand. And I keep a microphone all up in my hand. Y'all know I'm about to kill the game when I snap, and I'm going over domes like a baseball cap. Right, to be able to daisy chain them together smoothly, that took me years to figure out, you know, just that part. And then over time, you practice that to such a high level, like you practice it for so many hours that you're able to actually push it into the background. And then it becomes walking, you know, like you can, how come you can take a really important business phone call while you're on a walk? Right? Your brain is totally in the phone call. You're thinking about all these different scenarios. You're negotiating with somebody. You're listening to what they're saying. You're reading, you know, the energy of their tone of voice and figuring out, you know, how you need to be responding and all of these things. And your feet are just walking on their own. You're not thinking about left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, right? Because it's fully automatic. And so that's, for me, that's like setup punchline and some of the more basic foundational freestyle techniques. You could wake me up out of my bed at 4 in the morning and say, do the setup punchline. And I'd be right there doing it. You know, I would be kind of mad at you for waking me up, but I'd be right there doing it. So that's what it's about, man.
Awesome.
And then I just stacked more complexity. There's a bunch of other techniques, but it would take the whole podcast, the whole rest of the podcast for me to talk about them and break them down. But that's basically how I've built my system, as you called it.
But I love it because what it shows me is that you've literally the whole way through, you're just mastering your craft the whole way through. You know that because you love it and you've dedicated yourself to it. So you're hearing you as you're going through your freestyles. It's like you study things. I know that you are you study the craft, the history of it. You know, how you drop different rappers and what their lines are and what their albums are. And it's like, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. So so here's what I want to circle to a little bit, because I'm going to tell you, and I said this off camera a little bit.
Yeah.
But my wife and I, when we came to your concert, my biggest takeaway, bro, before I even went to your concert and watching you freestyle was your mana. So I live in Maui. Okay. So that's why I was out in Honolulu, but I'm in Orlando right now. I have my headquarters out here in Orlando, but I live in Maui.
Yep.
And mana is that energy, that vibe that you're putting out in the world. And I would notice, I mean, you think freestyle, Park 106. Yeah. 106
in Park. 106 in Park.
106 in Park. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Most freestyles, you're like ripping on the other person.
Right.
And you don't do it. Now I've seen you like go back and forth with somebody and they will do that. And now you do the opposite. You just build them up and build them up. Your mana, your vibe I love it, bro. I love it.
Thank you.
So 2 things, where did that come from and what drives that for you? You know?
Yeah. Great question, man. I sometimes think about this myself and ask myself a similar question, where does this sort of like positive like mindset and vibe that I put out in the world, where does it come from? I mean, first of all, shout out to my parents. I think they clearly they did a good job. I think I like to think so. I feel like they did. They've always been very supportive of me and very supportive of my music and creativity. Just the fact that they put me in those music classes when I was 5 years old, and even when it was like, hey, I want to go to college and study jazz drumming, a lot of parents would be like, what? No, you do it engineering, pre-med, or law school. Those are your options. Something where when you graduate, theoretically, you can get hired, right? Something that has this feeling of stability. And obviously every parent wants their child to be, successful and to just, feel like they have that stability. And with a jazz drumming degree, there's zero stability. There's no guarantee that anything will work out. And yet my parents were 100% on board and they knew I was passionate about music and they said, cool, that's what we'll do then. So, hats off to them.
Is that because of who they are, or is that because what they saw in you, or is that a combo of both, do you think?
I think it's a combo of both. I think that there are certainly some parents out there who, even if they did in their heart of hearts see the passion in their child, they would just be so rigid in their notion that that's not going to lead to a happy life for their kid. And even I think they would be doing it out of love, right?
Totally.
But unfortunately, it would just be a misguided attempt at showing love, because it would crush the dream of the kid, And so, and look, I'm not a parent, so I haven't had to, deal with these types of things yet. I'm sure that it's very challenging. So, this is not me ripping on parents who encourage their kids to become engineers or anything like that. But I feel very lucky that I was given sort of the freedom to lean into what I was most passionate about. So I think that's really big. And also, man, the thing is, I've just always, I feel people's energy, I've heard that like there's this term empath, which is like somebody who is very like, it's hard to ignore the vibe of the room. It feels quite overwhelming at times. And I have a little bit of that, maybe a decent amount actually, where, when I'm with people, I feel them, in this weird sort of way. And, if somebody that I know is in a bad mood, even if they're not saying it outwardly, I can tell, or if something weird has happened, I'll be like, are you good? Like, but are you really good? Cause I'm sensing something. And then often it's like, well, yeah, all right. Well, to be honest, this happened today, And so I feel like because I'm always feeling people's energy, and I sort of, recognize the power of putting good energy out into the world. And it makes me feel good to put good energy out into the world and lift people up if I can, you know? And I feel like if I'm going to develop all these musical techniques and, you know, put 10,000 hours in on learning how to stack this crazy freestyle technique, what better, you know, like what's the point of all that if I'm not using it to try to push positivity out into the world and to try to make people feel good about themselves, you know? And that's why I can't be a battle rapper. Like, even though I respect it and there's some incredible high level lyricism happening in the battle realm. So I'm not against it at all. I think it's dope. It's professional wrestling. These guys don't hate each other.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yes.
They're winning together. You know, they're putting on a show. So I love it, you know, but for me personally, I just can't be out there dissing another person. Cause my thing is like, dude, I got love for you, man. Like I would rather just say something about your outfit and maybe lift you up and make your day and try to make you smile. So that's my vibe.
Bro. Great answer. What a great answer. I love that so much, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
I do. I would say that I'm a very good read of energy, and I speak and I speak and teach on stages. And I believe one of my superpowers, I know one of my superpowers is I'm a good read of energy. And so when I'm speaking from the front of the room, yeah, I got content. Yeah, I got things that I'm pulling from, but I'm playing off the crowd. And I don't think that I really realized how much I did that until I was trying to do Zoom trainings and I'm getting no responses because I can't see any responses. It's just me. And it's like, man, this is a lot harder, you know?
Yeah.
Like, cause I play off the energy of the room. And I love that was your take. I think that I asked that question. I always ask the question based on who, you know, my listeners are, but that answer every time, not every time, but a lot of times the answer's for me.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, dude, it's like, I know what that energy feels like. I have a responsibility to give that energy out. You know, it's powerful.
Yes, sir.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your mana is phenomenal, man. Your vibe is awesome. Like even at the concert in Honolulu, there was a part where I don't know if you remember this, but you were talking about a gorilla and a banana and Rio or something. I think this one was.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like no bananas. That's what it was. No bananas.
That's right.
And even you got to that point and you were like, man, you got off the plane. It was like no bananas. And then I saw you switch immediately and be like, but then I realized like I'm here. And then you started to just point out all the beautiful things. I was like, this dude, it is like in his core. That's all he knows is just like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I think it has to be hopeful. You know, I think that the music, at the end of the day, it has to be hopeful. Not that it can't deal with the darker emotions that we all experience as human beings, right? Like, in no way am I saying we should block out any emotion that feels negative because that just makes it worse anyway, right? And we're human beings and we're going to run the whole gamut. But to me, like what I present as my art, at the end of the day, it has to be hopeful. You know, it has to get to a point where it's like, you know, okay, maybe this thing that I've gone through is bad. This is hilarious too, because we're talking about a gorilla that doesn't have access to bananas, so it's quite funny. But you know, sometimes my freestyles deal with more serious human emotions too, and it's like, yeah, what we're going through might be really challenging. It might be the hardest thing we've ever dealt with. It might be unfathomably painful, you know. But then there's hope too, you know, to counter that. And there's still gratitude. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm going through maybe the hardest season of my life, but I still opened my eyes this morning. You know what I mean? I still can breathe in the air. You know, I'm lucky, like my legs work, my eyes work. That's not true for everybody, right? But I'm fortunate in that way, you know, and once you start thinking about all the things that are working for you and that you do have to be grateful for, I'm big on that. You know, I think it's important to keep that sort of perspective.
No, it is evident that you're big on that. And I just want to help you understand the hope side of it.
Yeah.
And the bigger impact that your music makes, because maybe people tell you this or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm not joking you. My wife and I went to our car from your concert, and we sat in the car for probably 20 minutes just like taking notes of like the things that we learned from you. I'm not joking you. Like, I have a whole note in my, notes folder or whatever of lessons learned. And I've used a bunch of those lessons in company trainings and other things that I've done because it was the bigger overarching. I literally left that and I was like, I got to get him at peak. I got to find a way to get him at peak partnership. I just have to.
Oh,
and I wanted to get you there last year.
Right.
but your birthday was right around the same time. I think your birthday's February 17th.
That's
and it was
right.
right around the, yeah, it was right around the
Yeah.
same time. In fact, I think it was on the date of our training.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Dude,
man,
I'm honored though, man, that you took those notes and that some of that has proven to be helpful in your trainings and things like that. That's really awesome, man. I'm really that's dope. I'm proud.
yeah, I was grateful, brother. I was grateful, man.
Oh man.
So, so along the journey, because I know, bro, you don't get to your level. I mean, I can only imagine you get as many views as you do and you have as many followers as you do. I'd imagine you get hate along the journey. I'd imagine.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So keeping that mana and keeping that vibe along your journey, has that been a challenge, or do you have a system on how you approach it when the negativity comes? Do you just kind of block it out? Do you have fun with it? What do you do?
Yeah. Oh man, this is such an important question. And you know, I got thrown into this whole thing, right? By shout out again to Jacob Mann. Like I got thrown into it and I didn't even know like what a YouTube channel was. I had never been a subscriber. Obviously I watch things on YouTube, but I didn't know how that whole ecosystem works with building a subscriber base and having a channel and all of that, you know, and I didn't know about, you know, how to optimize for Instagram and Facebook and everything that I've learned how to do since. I was like, you know, building the plane mid-flight, so to speak, right? So learning
just
on
like
the
your
job.
raps, bro.
Exactly. And luckily, you know, I love to improvise. So I love that energy. I'm big on just, you know, taking the leap. But yeah, it applies also to me learning how to deal with the hate, right? The negativity that inevitably comes through, unfortunately. I'm lucky in terms of like being a rapper on the internet. I have a very positive community overall. And it's kind of like unprecedented, you know, and I guess it has to do with, you know, the vibe that I'm putting out through my content.
Totally.
So, you know, I'm lucky in that sense, but for anybody that's posting stuff on the internet, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate, you know, the negative comments and the haters and the stuff like that. And that's just part of it, you know? But yeah, I've gone through different sort of phases. In the beginning, it would affect me a lot, you know, it would really make me feel upset to like read a negative comment. And, you know, sometimes like back in the beginning, I would like try to reply to people, you know, and be like, wait, what? That's not what's happening. You know, I would try to like be logical and respectful, but I would say like, well, actually like this is what's going on, you know, da, 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 da. And then you learn that, I mean, in my experience, it didn't ever help, you know, then they come back with something even more outlandish and you're like, what? And so like, you know, then you can end up spending all your time replying to, you know, haters on the internet, trolls or whatever. And that doesn't really work out. And then I got to a point too after that where sometimes I would type the response and then I wouldn't send it. You know, I would type it almost for myself to remind myself what the truth is, right? Because sometimes you'll read that negative comment and it will affect you so much emotionally that you actually forget like who you really are and what you're really doing. And you can be like, wow, maybe I am like, am I really, maybe I am just, you know, a phony, or maybe my stuff is really just trash. Like, and then it's like you get stuck in this emotional kind of thing. And so sometimes I would type it almost as an exercise to be like, actually, I'm not a phony, and here's why. You know, I've been freestyling since I was 11 years old, and, you know, this is something I'm really passionate about, and whatever. But I don't need to send it, you know, and I'll do it for myself to sort of ground myself. And now
That's powerful.
Yeah. It's helpful. It's helpful for sure. And now I feel like I'm at a point where I kind of don't really engage at all. You know, I try to be sort of at a safe distance from all of it, the positive and the negative, you know, because I do believe like if you're going to let all the positive comments boost you up, like, yeah, I am killing it. Yeah. Like, oh, wow, I am dope. You know, then you're also probably going to be equally affected by the negative stuff. You know, if too much of how you view yourself is based on what the internet thinks about you, that's sort of a dangerous place to be. So I try to keep a safe distance from it and just, you know, remind myself who I am and why I do what I do. I think that's what's most important. And, you know, if the people I'm close to and the people I love are vibing with it, then I think I'm taking the right steps, you know?
God, great answer, bro. And I agree. Like both sides of it's like getting too caught up in the people building you up. I mean, you can buy into that all day and that could be dangerous. And the other side too, I think that's a great tip. Man, the series that you just took people through, the evolution of how you handled it. That's beautiful. That's amazing, man. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I know
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say too quickly, everybody gets affected emotionally to some level by the negative comments, you know? So I also don't want people to think that I'm immune to it now or something, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can read 99 positive things and that one negative one is the one that you remember. So it's an ongoing process and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate. So don't feel bad. If I remember I used to feel like, why does this impact me so much? But who knows? I'm sure Drake reads a negative comment and he probably gets a little bit impacted as well. So we're all human beings. Yeah.
All humans, man. I love it. That's a great perspective as well, man.
Yeah.
And I want to be respectful of time too, but I have to ask this question because I watched you in the concert and immediately I'm like, bro, do you get like, you have nothing prepared. You're coming into a concert.
Yeah.
Nothing prepared.
Yeah.
Like, is your heart pounding? Are you like getting nervous, or is that when you're like, let's go? Who knows what's gonna come up today? Fuck, who knows?
Yeah. Great question, man. Yes, I get nervous every time still. Much less so because now, you know, I've got quite a few reps in doing the show that we do. But yeah, I remember back, I guess it was like 2.5 years ago when we first went out on tour. And man, before that first show, like even the weeks leading up to it, I was terrified, you know, and, you know, but again, I've been a performer for so long that helps a lot, right? You know, my first live performance, I was 7. It was my violin recital when I was 7. And guess what? I didn't make it to the stage because I cried the whole time. I was so nervous. I just sat there and cried, you know, but I was 7. And so then when I was 8, I made it to the stage, you know, and then, you know, from there, I got more reps in being a performer. So I think that's really the key is like, it's okay if your first performance, you know, if you make it to the stage at your first performance, you're doing better than me because I just cried the whole time. So, but yeah, I get nervous. And the funny thing is too, the ironic thing is I'm more nervous about material that's prepared and memorized. Like there's a couple songs that I do, like, you know, from my albums and stuff during our set to break it up and to show sort of another side of my artistry. But those are the parts I get nervous about because they're set in stone. So I either execute it correctly or I make a mistake, right?
Yep.
But when I'm improvising, there's no such thing as a mistake. You know, like that's how I look at it. There are no mistakes. Even if I stutter or mispronounce a word, that becomes part of the freestyle. And
I love it.
That. So yeah, you know, I'm in my comfort zone when I'm able to freestyle. Just like you, I read the room every time. Yeah. And when I'm freestyling, I know that I can save the room. You know, if people aren't really feeling this aspect of what I do, what about this? Oh, okay. Oh, we're like, okay, let's lean in here. You know, and so having that freedom and that ability to make the show what it needs to be for that particular night in that particular space with that particular audience, that makes me feel comfortable as opposed to just having everything preset, pre-locked, and they're either going to take it or leave it.
Bro, freaking, that's awesome. What a great answer. That is so true, dude. That's the superpower of you being able to read the room and pivot as needed, take a different approach as needed. That's great, man. And you do, I've seen you, like, I saw the one that you did with NBA on TNT or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, holy shit.
Oh, thank you.
Memorize it. I mean, I literally was baffled, but that last word was like omnibitable or something. See, I think that's how you said it. I can't remember what the real word is.
Inimitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did I add an extra syllable? I mean, I literally like busted up laughing in my office. I was like, that's fucking great. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
There are no mistakes when you improvise. You know, Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpeter and improviser, obviously said, do not fear mistakes. There are none. So that's the mindset I try to be in.
Do not fear mistakes. There are none.
Yeah.
Yep. That might be the title, bro. That might be the title of the episode.
Let's go.
Okay.
I love it.
Could I, as we wrap this up,
yeah,
would you be willing, dude, to grace us with a freestyle? Are you open to that?
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got some
words
to hit
you? Yeah, sure. Let's do it, bro.
Yeah.
By the way, one more thing I got to mention. At the Honolulu one, they hit you with Hunu, Unu, Muku, Pua'a, which is the fish.
Yes.
Damn, I ain't going to hit you with that today, but
please.
Damn.
Oh, dude, I barely survived that. It's funny, too, because we were joking like, oh, somebody's going to throw that. You know, because we knew about the fish. We have been hipped to the game, but no, that was fun. So what you got for me?
I love it. Well, my little kids, Marley and Paxton.
Yeah.
They listen. I interview lots of cool people. I talk to lots of cool people. I mean, I do. Yeah. And I'll tell them about it all the time. They don't give a shit, Harry. They don't give a shit. I tell them that I'm interviewing Harry Mack. They're like, get out of here. My little boy Paxton, he's like, get out of here. What?
Oh,
He's like, you got to hit him. You got to hit him with zigzag. See if he can do
ooh.
zigzag.
Okay, I love that. Shout out to your kids too. Tell them I say hi. And
I
yeah, okay.
will.
Zigzag. What else?
Let's go zigzag. Let's go mermaid for Marley. That's my little
Mermaid.
girl.
Yep.
And then listen, man, we got Peak Partnership coming up. Peak Partnership is our multifamily networking event of the year
Yep.
for my company, the Multifamily Mindset.
Yep.
Let's do something with Peak Partnership or Multifamily Mindset something.
Beautiful. Peak Partnership, Multifamily Mindset. All right, so we're going zigzag, we're going mermaid, we're going Peak Partnership, Multifamily Mindset. I'm ready. Should we do this?
Let's get it.
All right, let's get it. Drop this beat here. You can hear that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. Every time I spit, they know we about to have a great time. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But I gotta switch it up cause I got big swag. This ain't no straight line, I'm moving like a zigzag. Yeah, I put my words together cleverly. Back and forth, zigzag like the letter Z. H-Mack coming off the tip of this. The way I display my rhymes is so ridiculous. And speaking of zigzag, y'all know I'ma spit the sound. Life has a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. It's not a straight line to the top. There's moments where you wonder, yo, should I stop? There's moments when your purpose, yo, you almost forgot. Like, maybe my lyrics aren't really that hot. Like when you read a negative comment all on your video and you're like, am I really that nice when I spit a flow? That's why I write my response. I don't send it. It reminds me who I am in my heart when I pen it. I write down the reasons why I'm in this game, because I'm spreading joy to people while spitting flames. Yeah, I grip the mic and I go wild in the place. I'm not winning unless I put a smile on your face. I said I do it from the heart. I'm perfecting my art, cause in this game we all humans and I'm doing my part. So through the zigzag up and down of surrendering to this game and spitting out these lyrical flames, I always keep my eyes on the prize and recognize increasing people's lives is why I spit it. I'ma come off the tip of this, believe me, it's true. H-Mack making it look easy, I do. I hold it down for all of y'all and spit it in the pure way. I swim through the depths of the game just like a mermaid. Yeah, y'all know I do very well. I'm a famous character, shout to Ariel from The Little Mermaid, that's the Disney film. Every time I spit lyrics, they be hot like a kiln. Yeah, I be the rapper that they can't even diss. I'm the mermaid rapper, half man, half fish. Cause every time I spit it off the top, I make them panic. Half fish, cause my freestyles are deep, they oceanic. Yeah, I deliver, I spit it rapid like rivers, pulling rhyme arrows out the quiver to hit ya. I paint a picture when I get loose, and people dig on the rhyme imagery I produce. Yeah, H-Mack, he be hard when he spits. Yo, me and you, that's a peak partnership. Yeah, we coming together each time that I speak. I'm climbing to the top of Everest, I'm up at the peak, the #1 rhyme worker. They singing, Mack, we heard ya. Climbing to the peak, I be rolling with the Sherpas. Yeah, these lyrics that I spit, you know they stay true. If it wasn't Everest, I'm guessing it was K2. Right up to the mountain peak. I'm hoping that all of us have an astounding week while I bounce on beats. I make it happen, I spit that insanity. Much love out to the multifamily mindset, cause y'all know we focus on that positivity. My creativity, it got me taking liberties, running freestyles off the top like an errand. You know I gotta send mad love to my parents. You ask where I got the positive vibes, and even when I feel low, how do I rise? I guess it comes from them and the energy I feel. So when spitting on the show, you know I gotta keep it real. Let's go.
God damn, bro, so good. Holy
Thank you, man.
shit, dude.
Thank you,
that's
bro.
what I'm saying. Like, I can take it, like, you're kind of seeing it live and how you pulled, like, gosh damn it, bro. So good, dude.
Thank you, bro.
So
Thank you so
good.
much, man. Appreciate it, Tyler.
Nah. Hey, listen, I know y'all pulled value from this episode. I know that you, man, learned from this episode. I know that you felt the vibe from this episode. Man, listen, and if you don't already follow Harry, you're one of, you know, the select few on the planet who don't right now. Go show this guy some love. Follow him on YouTube. Subscribe. You put out daily content on social.
Yep.
How often do you post your videos on YouTube?
YouTube usually once a week on Fridays at 9 a.m. But we just actually started a podcast called Flow State. The first episode is dropping on Monday. So yeah, so that'll start coming out on Monday as well. But we post daily, across social media, pretty much like at Harry Mack everywhere, HarryMack. Some places it's at Harry Mack Official. But if you Google my name, the pages will come up. So
I'll put them all, man. I'll put them all in the show notes as well.
awesome.
And then, man, I'm so pumped. I'm pumped to listen to the new podcast as well. I'll throw that in the show notes as well.
Yes, sir.
And then, hey, man, this is probably going to drop close to your birthday. So
Yeah,
if I
let's
don't
go.
chat with you before then, happy birthday.
Thank you,
And then I
man.
cannot wait to see you at Peak Partnership and have you feel the energy of our network, brother, because they match your vibe. I promise you.
Let's go. Oh, that's going to be dope, man. I'm very, very excited as well. And thanks for having me on here, Tyler.
Thanks, brother. Hey, and all y'all out there, live always with aloha. Peace.